The Galactic Council chamber floated in the emptiness between galaxies like a giant crystal bubble. For 50,000 years, not a single voice had echoed within its walls. 847 different alien species met here, but they never spoke out loud. Their thoughts appeared as glowing words and images in the air, translated by machines built into their minds. Park Gina stood in the center of the chamber, trying not to let anyone see how nervous she was. Her hands were clasped tight behind her back to stop them from shaking. At 32 years old, she was the youngest human ever chosen to represent Earth at the Galactic Council. She was good with languages and understanding different cultures, which was why they picked her. But right now, she wished they had sent someone else. The chamber itself was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Tall crystal pillars rose from a black mirror-like floor. Each pillar represented one of the alien species. In the middle of everything floated a blue, glowing sphere that collected everyone's thoughts and shared them with the group. Above it all was something called the Veil of Quietus, an invisible energy field that made sound impossible inside the chamber. No one could speak, even if they wanted to. Silence was not just a rule here. It was everything. Gina had been coming to these meetings for 3 years now, ever since Earth joined the Council. She still was not used to the absolute quiet. On Earth, people talked and laughed and argued out loud. Here, everything happened inside your head through the neural implant behind her ear. A red light pulsed from one of the pillars. Words appeared in Gina's vision, projected directly into her brain by the implant. It was Counselor Thexum from the Vrelian species. His message was formal and cold. We meet today to discuss humanity's membership in this council. Gina's heart dropped. This was not supposed to be on today's schedule. Another pillar lit up, this one belonging to a creature made of liquid metal named Veldar. Its thoughts came through sharp and cutting. The Crithian Dominion formally requests that humanity be expelled from the Galactic Council. We have proof that humans are not fit to be part of civilized society. Suddenly, holographic images filled the space around Gina. She saw scenes from Earth's history. Wars, violence, destroyed cities, people crying. Every bad thing humanity had ever done was displayed for all the aliens to see. The images were carefully chosen to make humans look savage and dangerous. Look at their emotions. Veldar's thoughts continued. In just 300 days since joining us, human ships have caused 47 diplomatic problems. Humans need psychological help 3 times more often than other species. They have angry outbursts. They fight. They refuse to control their feelings like civilized beings do. Gina tried to defend her species. Her thoughts went out into the Council's network. Counselor Veldar, humans do have strong emotions, but emotion is not the same as chaos. Our feelings help us create art, show compassion, and your feelings make you weak, Veldar interrupted. Emotions cloud judgment. They cause conflict. For 50,000 years, this council has kept peace by thinking rationally, without the pollution of feelings. Humanity represents a step backward into primitive times. Other council members began adding their opinions. The Netherii agreed with the Crithians. The Silicon Collective said they had concerns too. Massive shadow-like beings called the Void-born Sentinels stood silent in the corners, watching but not participating. Gina watched in horror as species after species turned against humanity. Numbers appeared in her vision, showing the vote count. More and more were voting to kick humans out of the council. She tried to argue. She tried to show all the good things humans had done, the music they created, the science they discovered, their fierce desire to protect innocent people. But every point she made was shot down. One alien named Mavic tried to help. Humans have given us new music and stories. Their explorers found 3 new nebulae. Their doctors have helped. None of that matters. Veldar cut it in. These small contributions do not make up for the fact that humans are fundamentally incompatible with civilized society. We will vote now. The blue sphere in the center pulsed, beginning the official vote. Each species pillar would glow either green to keep humans or red to remove them. The first pillar turned red. Then another, and another. Gina stood alone at the human pillar, watching red light fill the chamber. Her throat felt tight. 3 years of work. 3 years of humanity trying to prove they belonged among the stars. All of it was falling apart in silent rejection. She thought of Earth. She thought of her younger brother Mio, who dreamed of exploring space. She thought of her mother and soul, who had cried happy tears when Gina got this job. She thought of 8 billion humans who looked up at the night sky with wonder, hoping to find friends out there. The vote reached 66%. Just one more percentage point and humanity would be expelled. Something broke inside Gina's chest. All the frustration, all the pain, all the desperate hope she had been holding back for 3 years suddenly exploded. She wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all. She wanted to scream at being judged for the very things that made humans human. But screaming was impossible here. The veil of quietus prevented all sound. It always had. For 50,000 years, it had never failed. Until now, Part Gina opened her mouth and screamed. The sound ripped through the chamber like lightning through a clear sky. It should have been impossible, but it happened anyway. Her scream was raw and full of every emotion she had been forced to hide. Anger, sadness, hope, fear, love. It was purely, completely human, and it shattered 50,000 years of silence. The moment Gina's scream pierced the ancient silence, chaos erupted. Alien council members who had never heard actual sound in their entire lives collapsed in shock. Some clutched their hearing organs in pain. Others simply fled in terror. The crystal pillars began vibrating, resonating with the echo of her voice. Cracks spread across the black floor like spiderwebs, glowing with strange amber light. Then the floor split open completely. Gina stumbled backward as a massive chasm appeared in the center of the chamber. Deep below, she could see something that should not exist. A door. No! It was bigger than any door she had ever seen. It was a seal covered in symbols that seemed to move and shift in the chaotic light. As the last echoes of her scream faded, the symbols began to glow, responding to what she had done. Security forces swarmed into the chamber within minutes. Gina was arrested immediately. They put heavy metal cuffs on her wrists that shut down her neural implant, leaving her in complete silence once again. She was placed in a detention cell that floated in a void between dimensions. The cell was made of pure energy that hurt to look at directly. She had no idea how long she stayed there. Time seemed meaningless in that empty space. Then suddenly, without warning, the cell dissolved. Commander Tao stood before her. He was a massive reptilian warrior from the Vraw species, covered in scales that looked like armor. His face showed no emotion. "You are coming with us," he growled in a voice like grinding stone. "The seal is changing." They transported Gina back to the council chamber, and what she saw made her gasp out loud. The seal had opened partially. Where the door had been, there was now a swirling vortex of light and shadow that seemed to lead nowhere and everywhere at once. The strange symbols that had been on the seal were now everywhere, covering the walls, the ceiling, even floating in the air like glowing insects. Small creatures called archivists worked frantically around holographic displays, trying to translate the ancient writing. The archivists were the galaxy's historians and record keepers, and even they looked confused and frightened. One archivist named Bora approached Gina carefully. Bora was small, about the size of a human child, and glowed with soft blue light. "Ambassador Park," Bora said in a gentle voice, "we need your help. The seal responds to you." "What do you mean?" Gina asked, still trying to understand what was happening. Bora projected a hologram, showing waves of energy. "Every time your heart beats faster, the symbols glow brighter. When they took you away from the chamber, the symbols dimmed. You are connected to this thing somehow. We do not understand why." A being made of swirling cosmic dust appeared beside them. It was Morvathis, the High Arbiter, one of the oldest and most powerful beings in the galaxy. When it spoke, Gina felt the words in her bones. "We have translated some of the text." Morvathis said, "This is not just a seal. It is a warning beacon. The beings who built this chamber, we call them precursors. They were the first advanced civilization in this galaxy. They built this place not as a meeting hall, but as something else. They were preparing for something terrible." "Preparing for what?" Gina asked, though part of her was afraid to know the answer. "An entity they called the Silence," Morvathis explained. It is a cosmic parasite that feeds on life energy. It consumes entire star systems, leaving nothing behind. The precursors fought it 50,000 years ago. They managed to trap it in a prison between dimensions. This seal was designed to detect if the Silence ever tried to escape and return. Gina felt her blood turn cold. And my scream activated a warning? Your emotional resonance matched the precursor activation frequency perfectly, Bora explained, adjusting her holographic displays. We have been studying your biology. Humans share genetic markers with precursor samples we have recovered from archaeological sites. You might be their descendants, or perhaps their final creation before they disappeared. A scientist named Quan rushed into the chamber. He was Crithian, made of flowing liquid metal, and his form was rippling with obvious stress. We have a major problem, he announced. The seal's activation sent a signal across dimensional barriers. Our telescopes at the edge of the galaxy are reporting strange things. Holographic screens appeared, showing feeds from distant observatories. Stars were disappearing, not exploding like a supernova, not collapsing into black holes. They were simply ceasing to exist, leaving empty voids in space where they had been moments before. How long do we have? Morvathis asked quietly. Quan's liquid form shuddered. 3 days. Maybe less. The Silence detected the beacon signal. It is coming here. Veldar, the Crithian counselor who had tried to expel humanity, materialized nearby. For the first time since Gina had met it, Veldar's voice carried genuine emotion, fear. This changes nothing. The human activated the beacon. This disaster is humanity's fault. You are wrong. Morvathis said with such authority that everyone fell silent. The beacon was designed to activate when the Silent approached, whether we were ready or not. If Part Gina had not screamed, we would have had no warning at all. We would all be dead before we knew what killed us. She may have just saved the galaxy. Gina stepped forward, her detention cuffs still on her wrists. Can we stop it? Can we send it back to its prison? Bora shook her head sadly. The precursors were far more advanced than we are. Even after 50,000 years of studying their technology, we barely understand how it works. But we did find something else in the SEAL's database. Blueprints, weapon designs, instructions for defending against the Silence. Then we can fight it. Commander Tal said, hope entering his voice for the first time. There's a problem, Bora continued. All precursor technology requires emotional energy to function. It needs feelings, fear, hope, love, anger, to power it. The stronger the emotion, the more powerful the weapon becomes. The implication hung in the air like a death sentence. Everyone in the chamber understood what that meant. Most species in this galaxy evolved past strong emotions millions of years ago. Morvathis said quietly. Others culturally suppress their feelings for so long that they can barely feel anything anymore. We could not power a precursor weapon if our survival depended on it. Veldar's metallic form went completely still. You cannot possibly be suggesting. Humans are the only species in this chamber capable of generating sufficient emotional resonance. Morvathis finished. The very trait you wanted to expel them for is now our only hope for survival. The emergency council session that followed was unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever experienced. Species that had voted just hours ago to throw humanity out now desperately tried to change their votes. Representatives who had called humans primitive and dangerous now begged for their help. The irony was not lost on anyone, especially Gina. Her suppression cuffs had been removed. She stood at the human pillar with a confidence she had never felt before. For 3 years, she had been a junior member, the outsider, the representative of a species considered too emotional and unstable. Now, suddenly, everyone needed what only humans could provide. What is Earth's response? Morvathis asked, his cosmic form swirling with what might have been anxiety. Gina checked her neural implant, connecting to the communication relay that stretched across space to Earth. What she saw made tears stream down her face. 10,000 volunteers, she said, her voice breaking. They're already boarding transport ships, and more are signing up every minute. The precursor defense network was vast and ancient. 73 weapon satellites were scattered throughout the galaxy, positioned at strategic points. Each satellite had been dormant for 50,000 years, waiting for the threat to return. Now they needed to wake up, but there was a terrible cost. Each satellite required a human operator to stand at its core and channel their emotional energy into the ancient machinery. The scientists had run calculations. Each activation would drain the operator completely. Some might survive. Many would not. It was essentially asking people to burn themselves out like candles, to create a light strong enough to push back the darkness. Lee Ha-jin volunteered to be the first test subject. He was a young pilot from Earth's Defense Force, only 24 years old. He had a daughter back home, just 3 years old. When asked why he volunteered, he simply said, "So she can grow up." They brought Ha-jin to the nearest satellite, an enormous ancient structure that had been orbiting a dead star for millennia. Gina watched through a live video feed as Ha-jin entered the activation chamber at the satellite's heart. The room was circular, covered in the same glowing symbols that now filled the council chamber. "I am ready," Ha-jin said into his communication device. His voice was steady, but Gina could see his hands shaking. "Remember your training." Bora coached him gently from the council chamber. "Do not hold back your emotions. Let yourself feel everything. The stronger your feelings, the stronger the weapon." Ha-jin nodded. He stepped into the center of the chamber and placed his hands on 2 crystalline pillars. The moment he touched them, the precursor technology interfaced directly with his mind. Gina could see his face on the screen, contorted with effort and pain. "I am thinking about my daughter," Ha-jin said, his voice cracking. "Her name is Su-min. I am thinking about her laugh, her smile. I am thinking about all the children on Earth, all the families, all the life in this galaxy that deserves to exist." The satellite began to hum, a deep vibration that seemed to resonate across space. The ancient structure glowed with brilliant golden light, brighter and brighter until it was almost painful to look at. Energy readings on the monitoring equipment spiked so high that alarms started screaming. "It is working," Bora shouted, her small glowing form bouncing with excitement. "Emotional resonance at 97% efficiency. The weapon is charging." But then Ha-jin screamed, not a scream of triumph, but of agony. His body convulsed as the weapon drew out his emotional energy like water being drained from a well. The satellite fired a massive beam of pure energy into space, a lance of light powerful enough to vaporize a moon. It shot out into the darkness, a declaration that the galaxy would not go quietly into extinction. When the light faded, Ha-jin collapsed. Medical monitors attached to his body showed his vital signs dropping rapidly. "Get him out of there," Gina shouted. Medical teams rushed into the activation chamber. They pulled Ha-jin's unconscious body away from the pillars and immediately began emergency treatment. For terrible minutes, no one knew if he would survive. Then, finally, the medical officer's voice came through. "He is alive. Life signs are critical, but stabilizing. He will survive, but he cannot do that again. The energy drain was too severe. Maybe he will never be able to use a precursor weapon again." The chamber fell silent as everyone absorbed what they had just witnessed. 73 satellites, 10,000 volunteers. The math was simple and cruel. They had enough people to activate every weapon once. Barely, and thousands would die in the process. Meanwhile, Quan and his team of scientists continued studying the Silence's approach. What they discovered made the situation even worse. The precursors underestimated it. Quan reported to the emergency council, his liquid metal form rippling with stress. "Our projections show that the Silence has been feeding in the dimensional void for 50,000 years. It has grown exponentially stronger. It is not the same entity the precursors fought and imprisoned. Can the weapon network stop it?" Commander Tao demanded, his reptilian face showing rare emotion, desperation. Quan hesitated. "We might be able to slow it down. Hurt it, perhaps. But destroy it completely? I do not believe so. Even with all 73 satellites firing at full power, even with 10,000 humans sacrificing themselves, I do not think it will be enough." The words fell like stones into water, creating ripples of despair throughout the chamber. Gina found herself studying the seal obsessively over the following hours. She read translation after translation of the ancient precursor text. She examined the energy flow patterns. Something did not make sense. Why would the precursors build a warning beacon if they had already sealed the silence away permanently? Unless the seal was meant to do more than just warn. "It is not just a seal," she said suddenly, interrupting a debate between council members. "Look at the energy flow patterns. They go both ways. The seal does not just keep something out. It also provides a way in." Morvothis materialized beside her, studying her findings with ancient eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. "A bridge," the High Arbiter whispered. "By all the stars in the void, it is a bridge." "A bridge to where?" Veldar asked, its earlier hostility replaced by genuine curiosity. "To wherever precursors went," Gina said, her heart beating faster as understanding dawned. They did not die out. They did not lose to the silence. They transcended. They moved to another dimension, another plane of existence, and they left this door behind in case they ever needed to come back. "Then we open it," Commander Tal said immediately. "We bring them back to fight." But Bora shook her head, her glow dimming with sadness. The power requirements to open the bridge fully would be astronomical. More emotional energy than even 10,000 humans could generate. Perhaps more than every human on Earth could provide. "Then we get everyone," Tal insisted. "Every human. Every person capable of feeling." "There is no time," Quan said flatly. "The silence arrives in one day. Earth is 12 days away at maximum transport speed." The silence arrived early, catching everyone off guard. Observatory stations positioned at the galaxy's edge began going dark one by one. Their final transmissions showed something that made even experienced scientists feel sick with dread. The screens did not show darkness or empty space. They showed nothing, literally nothing, an absence so complete and total that it hurt the mind to try to perceive it. It was as if reality itself was being erased, wiped clean like words off a page. The human volunteers were already in position throughout the galaxy, each one standing at an ancient precursor satellite. Kim Minji was a schoolteacher from Busan who taught second grade. She had left behind a classroom of children she loved. Choi Daeho was a musician who had never traveled beyond Earth's moon before this mission. He carried his grandfather's flute with him, a family heirloom passed down through generations. Park Juno was a grandfather himself, 73 years old, who had insisted on volunteering despite his age. "I have lived a full life," he had said. "Let me give what is left of it for something that matters." 10,000 stories, 10,000 lives, all of them willing to burn themselves out like shooting stars for a galaxy that had, just days ago, voted to throw humanity away. "All stations report ready," Commander Tal announced from the Defense Coordination Center. His reptilian voice was steady, but Gina could hear the tension underneath. Gina stood in the council chamber with Morvothis, Bora, and a handful of key personnel. The massive seal pulsed steadily in the center of the room, waiting. Most of the council members had scattered, either preparing their own defenses or returning to their home worlds to spend their final hours with loved ones. "The silence has entered the outer rim," Quan reported from his monitoring station. His liquid metal form was vibrating with stress. 15 star systems gone. 20, 30. Each number represented billions of lives, simply ceasing to exist. "Activate the defense network," Morvothis ordered, its cosmic form swirling with determination. Across the galaxy, 10,000 humans opened themselves to the ancient precursor weapons. They thought about everything they loved, everyone they wanted to protect, all the beauty in the universe worth preserving. The satellites blazed a life like new stars being born, their combined light visible from hundreds of light years away. Beams of concentrated emotional energy lanced out toward the silence, weapons that had not fired in 50,000 years suddenly roaring back to life. For one beautiful moment, Gina dared a hope. The weapons were working. They were fighting back. Then the beams hit the silence, and hope died. The entity absorbed the attacks like an ocean absorbing raindrops. The massive beams of energy that could vaporize moons simply disappeared into the void without leaving a mark. The silence did not even slow down. If anything, it seemed to grow larger, feeding on the energy itself, growing stronger from their attacks. "It is not working," Someone shouted in the command center. Pull them back. Gina screamed, panic rising in her chest. Shut down the satellites before we lose everyone. The satellites went dark. The weapons stopped firing. But the damage was done. 300 volunteers were dead, their life force completely drained. Another 1,000 were in critical condition. Their bodies burned out from channeling too much power. Medical teams scrambled to save who they could. And the silence continued its advance, unstoppable and inevitable. 40 star systems gone. 50, each one representing countless worlds, countless civilizations, countless lives. All of it simply ceasing to be. Gina collapsed to her knees before the seal, tears streaming down her face. There has to be something else, she sobbed. Some other weapon, some other way to fight. The seal responded to her anguish. The glyphs blazed brighter than ever before. New text appeared, and this time Gina could read it without any translation device. It was as if the seal was adapting to her mind, learning to communicate directly with her. The words burned themselves into her vision. The bridge requires not power but connection, not force but harmony. The many must become one. I do not understand, Gina whispered, her voice breaking. Morvothis placed a gentle appendage on her shoulder. Its touch felt like stardust. I think I do, the ancient being said softly. The precursors did not transcend individually. They did it together. All of them. An entire civilization merging their consciousness into something greater. A collective powerful enough to exist across multiple dimensions at once. Bora floated closer, her small form glowing with sudden understanding. The seal cannot be opened with brute force. It requires unity. True unity. Not just cooperation, but actual emotional synchronization across multiple species. Everyone feeling the same thing at the same time. That is impossible, Quan said, his liquid form rippling with frustration. Different species process emotion in completely different ways. There is no common frequency, no universal resonance that works for everyone. There is one, Gina said quietly, standing up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but her mind was clear. Fear. Every living thing in the universe can feel fear. And right now, every living thing in this galaxy is terrified of dying. Veldar materialized in the chamber suddenly, its metallic form flickering and unstable. For the first time since Gina had met it, the proud Krithian counselor looked truly frightened. The Krithian Dominion requests emergency evacuation, Veldar said, its voice small and broken. Our home system is directly in the silence's path. We have hours at most, maybe less. Gina heard genuine terror in Veldar's voice. The same being who had called humanity primitive and emotional was now drowning in fear. Do not evacuate, Gina said firmly. Come here instead. Bring everyone you can. Send word to every species, every ship, every station still operating. Tell them to come to the council chamber. That is insane, Veldar protested. We should be fleeing, spreading out across the galaxy, giving some of us a chance to survive. A chance to survive for what? Gina interrupted, her voice rising. To watch from a safe distance as everyone else dies? To live alone in an empty galaxy? The precursors left us a way to fight, but it requires us to do something none of us have done in 50,000 years. She turned to face the entire chamber, her voice carrying across the communication networks to every corner of the galaxy. We have to feel together. We have to be vulnerable together. We have to face our extinction together as one united consciousness. And from that shared terror, that shared hope, that shared love for life itself, we create something new, something powerful enough to bridge dimensions. Even if you are right, Morvothis said gently, most species cannot feel strongly anymore. Millions of years of evolution, cultural conditioning, deliberate suppression of emotion. Then we help them remember. Gina said, her voice filled with determination. Music, stories, art, all the things humans never stopped making. Even when you told us they were primitive and worthless, we use them to awaken what these species have buried deep inside themselves. She activated her neural implant, broadcasting on every frequency to every receiver that could still hear her voice. They came in thousands. Ships from 800 different species converged on the council chamber, fleeing before the silence's unstoppable advance. The chamber had never been designed to hold so many. Within hours, every space inside was filled. They opened every viewport and access point, and still more ships came, filling the surrounding space with vessels of every shape and size imaginable. Gina stood at the center of the chamber as beings she had never seen before poured through the entrances. Some were still hostile, shouting accusations that humanity had caused this disaster by activating the beacon. Others were numb with terror, their eyes vacant and hopeless. Many simply looked confused, not understanding what they were supposed to do or why they had been asked to come. "We do not have much time," Bora reported from her monitoring station, her small glowing form dimmer than usual with stress. "The silence is 70 star systems away. 60. 50. Each announcement brought them closer to the end. Human volunteers began moving through the massive crowd. Kim Suho was a concert violinist from Seoul. He had brought his violin, an instrument his great-grandmother had played. He stood on a raised platform and pulled the bow across the strings. The melody that emerged was haunting and mournful, filled with every loss he had ever experienced. The death of his parents, the end of his first love, the friends he had lost over the years. Every note carried genuine grief and beauty intertwined. Species that had never heard music in their entire evolutionary history froze. Their sensory organs struggled to process what they were experiencing. This was not data. This was not information. This was pure emotion translated into sound, and it bypassed their rational minds completely, striking directly at something deeper. A Vrelian near the front began to vibrate, its crystalline body resonating in harmony with the violin. Tears, actual tears of mineral solution, began forming on its surface. It was feeling something for the first time in its life. Lee Yuna stepped forward next. She was a poet, young and fierce, with words that could make people cry. She began reciting a poem about her mother's death from cancer. Her voice cracked and broke as she spoke, tears flowing freely down her face. She did not try to hide her pain. She let everyone see her grief, raw and real. "She died on a Tuesday," Yuna said, her voice barely above a whisper but amplified across the chamber. The sun was shining. Birds were singing. The world kept turning, as if nothing had changed. But my world stopped, and I wanted to scream at the universe for being so cruel, so unfair, so beautiful even in its cruelty. A Netherei near her began making sounds, low, keening sounds of sorrow. The Netherei had not cried in 10,000 years. Their culture had deemed it primitive. But now, hearing Yuna's genuine grief, something ancient awakened in them. More humans shared their stories. A father talked about holding his newborn daughter for the first time, his voice filled with wonder. A soldier spoke about the friends he had lost in war, his words heavy with survivor's guilt. A grandmother sang a lullaby her own grandmother had taught her, and the simple melody carried generations of love and loss. The chamber began to fill with sound. Real, genuine, chaotic sound. Laughter mixed with weeping. Songs clashed and merged. 800 languages spoke simultaneously, creating a cacophony that should have been noise, but somehow began to harmonize. The Crithians started sharing memories of their spawning pools, their liquid forms rippling with nostalgia they had forgotten they could feel. The Silicon Collective, beings of pure logic and computation, began sharing calculations about beauty, about the statistical improbability of consciousness existing at all, about how precious and fragile life truly was. Even species that communicated only through chemical signals or electromagnetic pulses found ways to participate, releasing clouds of emotion-laden pheromones or broadcasting feelings across radio frequencies. The seal responded immediately. Glyphs exploded across every surface of the chamber. They covered the walls, the floor, the ceiling. They floated in the air between beings. The massive door of the chamber center began to open wider, revealing not a physical space but a dimensional rift. It looked like a bridge made of pure light and consciousness, stretching into dimensions that hurt to look at. "It is working," Boris shouted over the noise, her monitoring equipment showing energy readings climbing higher than should be possible. The emotional resonance is building. Keep going. Do not stop. The silence was now 40 star systems away. 30, 20. Gina felt something she had never experienced before. It was not her neural implant connecting her to others. It was something deeper, more fundamental. She could feel the fear of the Crithian counselor standing beside her. She could feel the grief of the Netherei crying above. She could feel the desperate hope of the human ship captain watching his homeworld son for what might be the last time. 800 species. Millions of individuals. All of them feeling together. Their emotions resonating and amplifying each other. The bridge opened wider, and suddenly Gina understood what needed to happen. The knowledge came not from studying the glyphs, but from the bridge itself, communicating directly with her consciousness. "We have to go through," she said to Morvathis, who floated beside her. "Not alone. All of us. Together." That would mean complete ego death. Morvathis said quietly, merging into a collective consciousness, giving up individual identity. We would not be ourselves anymore. Is that not just extinction by another name? Veldar asked, its voice small and frightened like a child's. Gina looked at the Crithian counselor with compassion. "Maybe it is," she admitted honestly. "Or maybe it is evolution, not through competition and separation, but through unity, through choosing to become something greater than ourselves." 20 star systems away. 15. Commander Tal stepped forward, his massive reptilian form somehow looking small in the face of what they were about to do. "If it saves my children, I will do it," he said simply. "If it saves any children," said a voice from the crowd. It was Gina's brother, Choi Miho. He had come with the volunteers, refusing to let his sister face this alone, if it gave them a chance to live. One by one, beings made their choice. Not everyone agreed. Some fled, taking their ships and running, choosing individual survival over collective transcendence. No one stopped them. This had to be a choice, freely made. But most stayed. Millions stayed, their voices and feelings creating a symphony of consciousness that grew stronger with every passing moment. 10 star systems away. 5. Reality itself began to unravel as the silence approached. Stars dimmed and flickered like dying candles. The laws of physics started breaking down. The council chamber's shields buckled under the pressure of the approaching void. "Now or never," Morvathis said, its ancient voice carrying both fear and determination. Gina closed her eyes and opened her heart completely. Every fear she had ever felt, every moment of joy, every memory of love and loss, every dream she had ever dreamed, she offered it all to the bridge, holding nothing back.